abbiamo in linea, come ho preannunciato, Josephine, Joyce, Pina, forse anche Giuseppina Gagliardi, membro del gruppo Ascolta Women, con cui abbiamo appuntamento regolare. Anzi, vedo anche il cognome Gagliardi, Gregoire, quindi le chiederemo di spiegarci tutto. Grazie. Joyce, thanks for joining us on Radio Italia 1 Adelaide.
Grazie Antonio, io non sono a Adelaide, sono vicino a Canberra.
Vicino a Canberra.
Un paese che si chiama Bangendo, circa 40 minuti di Canberra.
Perché spesso abbiamo persone o da Melbourne o da Mildura, sono tante a Mildura.
È vero, no, anche è proprio bello che mi hanno chiesto Ascolta di parlare, di essere con lei.
Bello, bello. Allora, parliamo un po', cominciamo con l'aspetto professionale, perché Pina Marino mi ha scritto tante cose interessanti di che cosa fai e vedo che ti interessi molto anche del cibo.
Sì, del cibo. Il cibo è come, forse lo facciamo in inglese, Antonio, perché la siamo nella zona professionale. Io sono nata qui in Australia, quindi l'italiano è una lingua che, sì, è la mia prima lingua, però a livello professionale è stato l'inglese, quindi forse è meglio che andiamo in inglese. Il cibo, sì, e food, perché because food is a wonderful window, an opening into a culture, and but my career didn't start with food. I'll tell you a little story. When I finished school, so I went to school here in Canberra. When I finished school, I wanted to do nursing.
Okay.
So I went and told my parents, I said, I'm going to do nursing, and I had forms to fill out. And these forms, I must have been under 18 because it needed my parents' signatures. And they said, no, you're not going to be a nurse. Your Zia Nazarena in Torino works as, in emergency services. And we know that she works in the middle of the night. And we've heard horrible stories of this profession. So no, you are not allowed to be a nurse. You're going to choose something else. And so I found this amazing degree at this stage. It was called health education. In health promotion. And so I did my degree in health promotion, and then I went into, before I even finished my degree, I was a health education officer in a community health centre in Queanbeyan. Queanbeyan is a town just outside Canberra. There are lots of migrants who actually settled in Queanbeyan rather than Canberra itself.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. I lived in Canberra for a little while. I worked in the public service for 2 or 3 years. Yes, occasionally went to Queanbeyan. I didn't know this, that there are a lot of migrants there. Okay.
Yeah, probably a lot more, and it felt more community, perhaps.
Yes.
And one of the reasons also my dad always says he's still alive. One of the reasons they didn't settle in Canberra was because they had the 99-year lease on properties.
Yes.
And Italians, they like to own their properties. So they go over to New South Wales and bought properties in New South Wales in Queanbeyan. So that's why a lot of the migrants are actually there. So I did my studies in health education, and I was a migrant health worker, and that was a very beautiful experience, very grassroots, and opening, spalancare le porte from the Queanbeyan Health Centre, who rarely had migrants walk in, and giving them access to beautiful services, particularly the women. I started lots of women's groups, and it was a real joy. I learned so much. Then I moved to Sydney and worked on a diabetes project for the Italian community at North Shore Hospital. Again, keeping in mind the cultural context of health, well-being, nutrition, but more importantly, being that bridge between the services and the community. That's basically what my work was, so that there was an understanding.
So the North Shore Hospital, where is that?
The northern suburbs of Sydney.
Yeah.
So North Sydney, Chapman. No,
okay.
That's in. Yeah. So Chatswood, sorry, and
So that's just above, just north of the harbour.
Correct.
Really close. Yes.
And Ryde, a lot of the Italians were actually in Ryde, living in Ryde. So that was an incredible project I was involved with. Again, health promotion and public health. And then my career took a funny turn in that I realized that I would be poor if I stayed in the public health field. So I was living on the north side of Sydney, where it was very quite affluent, and I'm going, why is it that everyone's driving a BMW and I've got my Datsun 120Y with it uses a lot more oil than petrol? And then I realized, oh, they're all in the private sector. So I moved over into the pharmaceutical industry. And I worked for a very large multinational called Glaxo for 4 years. And I learned so much about, medicines, how they developed, how they brought into the hospital formularies, the whole process, how the medical system operates. I just learned so much on the other end of the spectrum. So we're no longer in prevention, we're now in the medical field. And then I was missing my community development so much. And just like you, I joined the public service. But Antonia, I only lasted 9 months.
Oh,
I'm not a very good public servant. And because I was so grassroots oriented, but I was working on Indigenous health. And that was a real honour and privilege. And it was thanks to the people that I met, the Indigenous people that I met, that helped me with my Italianness, and who they made me understand what it means to be from another country and to live in a country completely different.
Okay, now that's very interesting, because you remind me of something I've said a few times in various contexts. If you're a migrant, or everyone in Australia is a migrant of some sort, but if you're a migrant or child of a migrant, you should understand the concept of what they call country, like attachment to a community, and what happens when you get torn away from that community. So you're saying dealing with the Indigenous helped you understand your own Italianness. Interesting concept.
No, it wasn't just a concept for me. It was life-changing, because I came back from having gone to Italy. Always, we're that generation that kept going up and down, kept going. We were working, we had the money to be able to go to Italy and to visit where our parents came from. So we did that. But coming back, I would always have such a sadness, and found it really hard to come back into Australia, and the beautiful elder from the Ngunnawal land where we live, Ruth Bell, who I was working with, she took me aside and she said, "Do you want to know why you feel like this? Because your ancestors are not from this land. This is a new land for you." But we did like almost a beautiful ritual. She gave me permission to put my roots here. And she said it was very important that I do that for the next generations. And it blew me away. She understood that feeling that I had for a start, whereas nobody had ever understood. It was real, it was a lived experience, and then she gave me permission to put my roots down, which is what I was needing. And she emphasized that it was important to do so.
Very, very interesting. And I'll just remind me, I know that your Ascolta colleague Maria Pallotta Carolli is organising an Italian Aboriginal forum for October, which is very, very interesting, and maybe that theme will come out. So you were working with the Indigenous people in Sydney, not in Canberra now.
In Canberra.
Back in Canberra. Okay.
Yeah. And I tried to make my job as real as possible in setting up meetings with the elder community, but it still wasn't enough. I felt constricted so I'm not a good bureaucrat. I didn't like having my letters changed and modified, and so I was looking in the positions vacant section for overseas work, and I found this amazing job. It was a health promotion person for the South Pacific Commission.
Oh.
It's a commission which is based in New Caledonia and looks after all the Pacific Island countries. And this position, you know how I didn't have to lie in any of my selection criteria. I could actually do all of the things that they outlined, and I got the position. So I moved to Noumea, where the organisation is based, and I had the privilege of working with over 300 island countries in the Pacific, going to very remote places and working in public health and the real sense of community development and being advocate for communities. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And I was living in New Caledonia for 4 years. And yeah, I met my husband, I met my partner there. Yeah. And
in New Caledonia?
In New Caledonia.
Okay.
So as you know, New Caledonia is a French island. It's still a colony of France. And my husband was teaching professional chefs. It's teaching students in the hospitality field over there. And we met, we married there. And then we decided, I think I decided we'll go back to Australia. I want to go home now. And so we came back, and, you know, the usual story. It always kind of makes me upset about this, because my husband did have qualifications to teach, but they weren't recognised in Australia. Yeah. So what does a chef do? Opens up a restaurant. So I decided to use the experience of owning a business and opening a restaurant as a community development project.
Now, we're back in Canberra now?
Now we're in Canberra.
Yes.
We've been in Canberra for 7 years, and then we built our home in
What was the name of the restaurant?
It was called Christoph's Restaurant in Palmerston Lane.
Where in Canberra? Where in Canberra was that?
In Manuka.
Oh, I used to go to Manuka quite a bit, because I worked in the Prime Minister's department. It was just a nice walk to go there. What years? Can we ask what?
Yeah. 1999, 90.
Well, yeah, after I was there, I'd already left. I used to enjoy, there was a Turkish restaurant in Monaco I liked to go to. Alanya, that's what it was called.
Alanya.
There was a French place called Le Rendezvous.
Le Rendezvous, and chez Daniel. There were lots of French restaurants when we were there, but now, voila. Do you remember the Italian chef, the Italian village chef? The one in the laneway, because we took over that one, that place.
No, don't think so. No, I don't remember. Otherwise, I would have probably gone quite a bit. Okay, so you ran this business in Canberra. You said 7 years?
We were there for 7 years. Had 3 daughters in the meantime, 3 children. Now, you need to understand, I knew absolutely nothing about running a restaurant. So my husband would hand me a list of ingredients, and I thought, what is this all about? So I did it was a steep learning curve about running a business, restaurant, the whole kit and caboodle, while having 3 children at the same time. So we did that. We were actually successful in Canberra, and then we built our home on a property just outside Canberra in Bungendore, and my husband was running up and down. There were lots of kangaroos on these country roads, and he eventually said, look, I don't think it's such a good idea to drive up and down, you know, in the middle of the night. So we said, let's build our restaurant, our little community in Bungendore, in a village, typical Australian town. So we started our restaurant, a very French restaurant. My husband didn't make any compromises about this, and in this typical Australian town. And we were there for 20 years.
Oh, okay. And you were there 20 years, so it sounds like it's no longer. And you're doing other things. You're organising travel tours, I think.
Yes, so we started to do tours of France while we had the restaurant in Christoph's region. So every year we take a group of our clients to Alsace-Lorraine, where Christophe came from. And with our three daughters, we'd go over every year with our clients, do the tour, and then the deal was after the tour that we'd go to Italy to have a little holiday. Because I don't know if you've ever taken a tour group. It's very exhausting. It's a
I
lot
can
of hard
imagine,
work.
yes.
And then so we'd holiday in Italy. So I would take the family to all the beautiful places. Like I went to a university in Urbino to do a language course, for example. Took them everywhere. Assisi is one of our favorite places. So I took them all over Italy, all my favorite places. One year, Christoph, my husband, said, I don't understand why you've never taken me to the region where your parents come from. I go, wow, okay, Calabria. Okay. I had to really sit with that. I thought, okay, I will take you. So I organized the trip. We flew from beautiful Alsace to Lamezia. It took all day to get there. We had to stop in Rome. It took all day to get there. Then by the time we got in Tropea, where I had actually booked the accommodation, it started pouring with rain. We were exhausted. We went into the hotel, went to have a shower, and there was no hot water, Antonio. And I just burst into tears. I said, this is the reason why I didn't want to come to Calabria. So I was carrying all my beautiful baggage, all my little stereotypes with me about the place. And then Christopher said to me, what's wrong? Why are you so upset? And I said, because we got no hot water in this hotel. And he said, oh, you silly. There's a switch for the hot water. And then that morning, we went up to the balcony and I cried for another reason, not because I was upset, but from the beauty of it, because there was the beautiful Mediterranean in front of us, a blue that I had never seen before in my life. And then we started to eat breakfast, and breakfast was the fresh ricotta. And then the tears just started to flow because I was reminded of the ricotta that my nonna used to make, the ricotta that we were fed as children. So that was the birth of the Calabria tours that we do now.
Okay, fine. So we've covered also a bit of your Italianness. So now we know the family comes from Calabria, both parents, both sides of your family. Yes.
Correct. Both Pietro and Olimpia Gagliardi, they come from the town called Giano, which is a little mountain village in not far from Tropea, just up on the hill. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, so we've only got a few minutes left. How does that, I'm hoping that all feeds into your Ascolta.
Yes. Okay. So how does it? Yes. Exactly. So my beautiful friend Chiara Erico, who's also does tours in Puglia, Tales of Puglia, is her business. Little plug. I wrote this beautiful piece about my return to Calabria, and I gave it to Chiara. I said, "This is how I feel when I go," and she said, "You need to know about Ascolta." So she put me in touch with Ascolta and that beautiful, safe, sacred space of Ascolta, which is making me change and evolve and to grow as a woman.
So you've contributed to their anthologies?
But no, I still call myself a baby Ascolta because this will be my second year. So I did contribute last year, and there was the Il Corpo anthology. Yeah.
So you contribute through writing, because I know they're mostly the Ascoltese are authors, Italian, Australian female authors, but not only authors. And by not only, I mean it's a broader range of artists. So you write prose, poetry.
I'm learning to write, Antonio. This space is teaching me to write about the lived experience, because when we do write, we write for professional reasons or we write for marketing purposes, which is very different. But to write from that lived experience point of view, it's quite extraordinary. Yeah. So I'm learning to write about this lived experience of being Italo-Australian.
And how does food feed into this, so to speak? Food.
Yes and no. Yeah, no,
No,
because there's so much more.
Okay.
For me,
Yes.
there's so much more.
What was your piece or pieces in the Corpo anthology?
Look, I'll get it here. It's called The Body, and the piece was experimental prose. It was a bit like poetry, but it was basically saying that perhaps we hold secrets in our bodies, and that they should be stored, they should be written, they should be sung. Secrets should be, it's better to have them out than in. Yeah, that we hold pain, that we hold secrets.
Yes, and that has an impact on our health too.
Correct.
Physical and mental well-being.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's what my piece was about, because it was about the body.
Yeah, cool. And what is we're in August now. Normally the anthologies come out in March. So do we know no, I think you do know. What is the theme for the next one?
Il cuore. So it's so beautiful because it goes to all sorts of places. The people that we hold in our hearts, the physicality of the heart, again, secrets of the heart. Oh, it's such a beautiful theme. Songs are featuring a lot. Music, because it's heart music.
Yes, fair enough. Yes. Okay, lovely. Well, as I said, we have to go. I've got the next guest in a few minutes, but thank you very much, Josephine, Josie. I was asking you, does anyone call you Giuseppina?
It was the name of my birth. I was named after my nonna, but nobody ever calls me Giuseppina anymore. No. Just Pina.
Pina.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pina. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's nice to see you've published in the last anthology, and hopefully you'll contribute something to the next one, and keep on learning to write for your own purposes, maybe outside of Ascolta.
Veramente, Antonio, è stato veramente un piacere. Grazie.
Okay.
Grazie per l'ascolto.
Grazie per l'ascolto. Now, you actually do speak Italian fairly well. Maybe the conversational bit. It's obvious that it's coming out naturally for you. Va bene. Grazie.